Tick two. Oh my goodness. Is that your neck or your
Shoulder.
Oh jeez. I never heard a shoulder crack like that before. I kind of like and then I do with a little bit of and then some of the
Now that my crew is completely broken, we can start.
snap, crackle, pop. Wake up call to the world. No.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Retro Game Night. I am Player 1 and my name is Damien. As always, I am joined by my trusty companions. Player 2, that guy there is Kyle.
Woo woo!
And we'll skip over to Player 4, Benjamin. And we are here to chat everything all about things of retro gaming, and sometimes we sneak in some new stuff too. What's going on?
Not much. Just been playing the game that we're going to be talking about today, and I forgot how long this thing is.
It was pretty long.
I wasn't actually able to beat it again. Another one that I wasn't able to beat.
Because
it wasn't that I couldn't beat it per se. It was just more of I just didn't have the time to beat it.
okay.
Do you feel that now the game has different meaning as an adult playing it versus when you were a kid? Because it seems to me when I tried playing it again, it was that much more, like you said, like longer.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing it as a kid, you are able to hit those save points, and then you kind of turn it off because then you're like, okay, well, I got to go to school or I got to finish out whatever, and then you get back to it. It just doesn't seem like it took as long. But when you try to sit down and you remember things a little bit better as an adult, you kind of makes it feel like it takes a little longer for some reason.
We are, of course, talking about the game Super Metroid for Super Nintendo.
The best game ever.
Yeah, it actually has been stated as one of the greatest games of all time.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of reason why. We can get into why that is, that people say that. I am a big fan of the Metroidvania style, which is a genre that was spawned from Metroid and Castlevania, which are both side-scrolling. We were living in an age with games that were not so much exploration unless you were in an RPG. But with that kind of a game, it was nice that you didn't have to do a lot of chit-chat with people. It was more just
non-linear.
Non-linear, and you were able to just go explore and find items. And I used to get a big kick out of finding the hidden ones. I mean, when you found the hidden item, it was like, wow, if I didn't shoot this particular column or block, I would never have found this.
Or you get to an area where you're like, how do I get in there? I can see there's clearly an energy tank up here, but I can't get up there. I don't have, whatever, weapon X or whatever. Yeah, I don't have anything. And then later on, you're like, oh, so there's a little grapple point there, and now I have the grapple. Now I can go there.
The beautiful thing I love about Metroid, with the exception of the first and second one, is that we had a map. And that map laid out everything you needed to know. If you got to, in this particular game, a computer room where you could upload the map to be uploaded, and so you could see where everything is laid out. Mm-hmm. That's, of course, not revealing the hidden areas that you could bomb and go through or shoot and go through.
Yeah, there's still secret areas.
Secret areas, yeah. And if you didn't have the map, and if you pulled up the map, you would see just as far as you've been traveling in I guess real time,
and in those specific rooms too.
In specific rooms,
it was laid out in little grids of little blocks each, and if you're able to jump higher, like in the main area where you land in the ship, that actually goes up a lot more. But you can only jump so high, so that there's no roof there, but you can't see what's way up there. That map is really interesting.
Yeah, you'd have pink or red, I think it's pink-ish, where you actually have gone through, and then you have blue representing places you haven't yet gone through, but it was there to show you that it exists, that particular room or tunnel or area. Super Metroid came out March 19th, 1994 in Japan, North America, April 18th, 1994, and the PAL version in Europe, July 28th, 1994. They call it officially in the genre back then of action-adventure, whereas now we would just call it a Metroidvania game.
Or Castleroid, but I never cared for that.
People call it that?
Castleroid, yeah, for a while.
Huh, never heard of that.
Yeah.
Huh. Is it still kind of popular online, or is it not?
Nah, I haven't heard that term in several years now. So I think Metroidvania has finally been accepted.
You know what's really stupid? We've been talking about the games for a long time now. And I always hear Metroidvania, and I never actually put it together because I never played Castlevania games. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it was a combination of the two words.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, that's the thing. If you knew it.
When you were first talking about it, that's why because I don't know if you heard it over the mic, but I actually literally face-palmed while you were talking because you said Metroid and Castlevania, and then you said that, and I was just like, wow, I feel like an idiot now.
It's okay, because, you wouldn't know unless you knew some sort of knowledge of Castlevania.
I never played the Castlevania games.
They mentioned in my research that Super Metroid, along with Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which was released in 1997, is credited for establishing the Metroidvania subgenre.
Yeah, pretty much all the Castlevanias from there on had the Metroid formula.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, at that point, that's where the whole Metroidvania thing comes from.
I appreciated a lot in the game. The introduction was very, I guess, movie-ish in the sense that the tone was very cinematic, and you had the intro showing Samus having a past memory that she's relating to you in a narrative of the first time she went to eradicate the Metroid, where she went, and Mother Brain. And then you had the second part of that was the second story of the second game, on how that mission went, and then how that the larva, I think it's larva, right, went and attached to her, and then she and then it followed her back for research, and they showed kind of like what happened after that, which we didn't see after Metroid 2's ending, but she took it back, they did research on it, and then now they're back again as she receives a distress call shortly following the events that ended with Metroid 2.
She actually gets the distress call from the colony where she left the Metroid at, and that's what we start with Super Metroid, is her going back to that ship where that's at, and it's empty, and we have no idea where everybody is until the very end when we get to where Ridley is with the Metroid, and you see like a body with some type of weird creatures or insects or whatever it is, space goop, on him. And because when you pass by them, they all kind of scamper away, remember? And then you go in to do the fight, and I actually didn't realize that fight, it's only about how much life you have left.
Yeah, like you technically can't die in that part.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching speedruns of this game too, just because it so fascinates me with these older games how streamlined people can get these games to the point of knowing what color door is coming up and what they need to do to be able to get it, and the different actions you're able to do little shortcuts to get through it.
Right.
So when I was watching this, I've always thought it was just like how much damage you could try to do, and you had to fight for a certain amount of time or something. But no, it was just you get down to 24 life, you get into critical, and then he flies away, and then you have to escape. I didn't know that. I always tried to fight as hard as I could at that point.
Yeah.
Now I feel like an idiot for doing that.
I'll never forget, there was one part, and I remember this very vividly. I want to say this was maybe I was a teenager when I played it again, one of the many other times. And there was a part where I think the game glitched without me trying. I was shooting at Ridley, the big monster, and the part of the beginning is that it swoops down to grab, of course, the larva in case, and then you're shooting Ridley while it's still holding on to it. At one point, I shot Ridley somehow that it actually dropped the larva.
What?
And it went back down again to grab it. It was just, I'll never forget that. It was like some weird glitch that happened in the game, and I'm like, well, that's funny. And it just,
I don't think I've ever seen him drop it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, and I tried ever since to do it again. I don't know what it was. It definitely was some sort of weird glitch, though, and the game still made up for it. It still continued to grab it. Yeah, and it was like a really quick grab, too. It just went down and whoop. So it's just funny. And then
that'd be interesting to see if I could either find a video of that happening on YouTube or just trying it again myself to see if you can find it, because that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know if that's something to the game that's maybe just like a funny thing they did, or if it really was a glitch. But so after that, the planet blows up, the station, I should say,
yeah.
not the planet, and we are left with her arriving to
Following Ridley,
following
down.
Ridley, right? And I don't remember the planet she goes to. Was it?
Zebes?
It was Zebes. Planet
Zebes.
Planet
Zebes.
Zebes or Zebus? I think it might be Zebus.
Holy Zebes.
I always called it Zebes.
So, tell me some of your guys' memories of the game.
Playing it and getting to the middle of the game, and then getting further along, and then eventually get to the end final boss, and then you beat it.
That's a
That's
great
That's a real
synopsis of the whole thing.
synopsis of.
Good night, everybody. No, just kidding.
Thank you and goodbye.
Well, I'll start it off. I've had great memories of the game. I even remember when I was playing it younger that I had dreams with it at night. It wasn't creepy. It was just very. The story is very environment driven, of course, where you're at in each stage. And I remember kind of imagining those things, and then I guess it just played in my dreams. But it was kind of cool.
So let me ask you that: did you know at that point when you were having the dreams that Samus, or that it was actually a girl in the suit? Did you play the other games and you knew it was a girl, or did you not know that at the time?
Oh, no, I didn't know.
I could imagine you putting yourself in the suit.
No, from what I remember in the dream, it was very, very vague, but it was just
okay.
me
Oh, you mean
there.
in the dream? Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the dream, yeah.
But no, the first time I knew she was, there was a woman in the suit was that game when I saw her.
Really?
When you died, because I don't remember hearing about it before that.
With the first game, you didn't.
No, because you only see her as a female when she beats
when you
beats
beat the
Mother
game.
Brain.
So
at
you
the end
never
of the
actually.
game.
But what about Justin Bailey? You never ever typed that in, that password?
No.
You know what Justin Bailey is?
Oh, is it just? Oh, it's the underwear code, right?
Bikini, basically.
The bikini or whatever.
One Piece.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. One thing I learned recently is that that's not in the Japanese version. On the Famicom disk system, there was no password system for it. So it was just a save file. So there was no way to even put in a Justin Bailey.
Yeah.
Fan service.
Yeah.
That was nice in Metroid 2 that save feature was finally a battery backup. You know, you're able to save it because, Metroid 1 with a password, and it was like something crazy like 16, 20 digits, something crazy like that. It was a very long password.
It kind of had to be, but with how complicated the game is and getting the upgrades and stuff, that it had to be able to have a way to be able to identify what you have, what you don't have, what upgrades you have, and stuff like that.
That's true.
Although I did, went through a whole history of the first Metroid, I think it was, and one thing, apparently you can't even, like, some of the spaces where the numbers and letters go in it doesn't matter. Like, they're there to kind of make it more complicated looking. But it actually doesn't matter. You can get the same result by changing some of the lines to something completely different.
Yeah, I never played Metroid 1 all the way through in the original days.
Neither did I.
I played very little of it, but then I did do Zero Mission for Game Boy Advance, of course, being the same thing but remade.
Yeah,
and a little bit easier because doesn't it have like a better map system?
Yeah, it's
kind of like a little.
Yeah.
Is that the one that had the computer kind of telling you where to go and what you can
No,
do?
that's Metroid Fusion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
This one was it looked just like Super Metroid, but for the Game Boy Advance, and it had most of the features that you had in Super Metroid, but better. I think it got tweaked for the better, and I think that one came out early 2000s, something like that, and they had enough time to refine Super Metroid's like style.
Mm-hmm. And what was really cool about the first Metroid game was just the limitations and of the system, and it kind of gave Samus one of her iconic moves that she's able to do in the games that we see all over the place now, which is the limitation of the system. They couldn't figure out a way for Samus to crawl, to be able to get down low, to be able to go through. So they made her into a ball. They gave her the morphing ball power. That's why she has that ball power. And it's cool to see that they didn't go back to their original design of, well, let's ditch the ball and go back to her not having that ability and like doing crawling and
crawl.
shooting. Yeah. That they kept that there, and it's actually an iconic move that she has now, even in Smash Brothers, where she's able to do her bomb moves and stuff. And it's actually one of the ways that people can navigate through Super Metroid to be able to get to those different places because she's able to do her bomb jumps and stuff. which is a very difficult trick to do.
That is
I'm
such
better
a
with wall
unique,
jumping.
such a unique thing with Metroid is the morphing ball. Like,
Yeah.
there's no other game that would get close to even that because it's obviously very Metroid. But I think that makes a great first power up that you get because it stands out. Like you're like, wow, so I
Right.
can go in every small corner
From
or
tall to ball.
from everything. I can go, climb stuff if I get, I think Metroid 2 had the spider grip when you were in the morph ball. I mean, it
Oh, it was
had
all the way back to Metroid 2?
Metroid 2,
I
yeah.
only remember those in Prime. And I was going to mention that is because that's how much it stayed in it, that in
Yeah.
the Prime games you had the spider rails.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't include it for Metroid, Super Metroid, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe because they
would make
want
it-
a different style
like
of
the
exploration.
design. Well, probably the design of the levels just wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah.
Is my guess. Because in Metroid 2 for Game Boy, it was like you could stick, I think, to any wall.
Oh, really?
It wasn't just a rail.
It wasn't
system.
just that's see, and I think maybe they might have changed that because in Super Metroid you get the high jump boots and you also get the space jumping. So they decided probably to do, or with this mission, give you a little bit different powers that gave you the same ability to do certain things or access higher places.
Yeah, the space
just
jump,
with you get the space jump. I think it was the one with the infinite spinning, right? And you were able to do that
Yeah,
with the suit.
yeah.
And then also even the high jump boots. So. That's kind of this different Metroid stuff that I had never known about either.
Yeah, each one really had something new to bring to it. It was great. I mean, there was always something innovative that they were working on with each Metroid game that made you go, wow, that's a really cool feature of upgrade, or even a room or environment that was a little bit different than the last.
Right.
So going into the abilities and weapons, I could name them all, but only because I'm trying to remember. I don't think I will, because I don't know. I might be getting mixed up with the other games, but
Well, let you read them off, or you try not read them off, but go off of your memory, and I can kind of.
well, we had
direct
the
you.
Spazer, which was the three,
The splitting of the three.
splitting
Okay,
into
yeah.
three.
And that didn't that also allow you to shoot through walls too?
I think so.
Yeah, when you had like the
Either that-
ice one,
Was that or the
maybe?
wave?
It was either that or the wave. Did it have both? I'm trying to remember. Was it the wave and the spacer? Because wave does go through walls as well.
You get the spacer first, and then I think the wave did, because that's when you get behind one of those gates with the blue button on the other side, and you have to use the wave beam to go through it to hit it.
The one really awesome thing, looking back, was the fact that you could charge up your shot, which you couldn't do in Metroid 2.
Charge
So
up
that
beam.
was new and cool. The fact that you could do that, I think that I held that charge all the time while running around and jumping, just in case.
Wasn't there something that you could do with a missile, or what am I thinking about, a different game where you could charge up your charge shot and then you use one of the missiles and it adds a different ability to a missile?
Yeah, there's
Or
some
is that
weird
in the Prime games?
No, there is some weird stuff that I never really knew about until years and years later that you can do, like that with certain like power bombs and like I'm trying to remember what it is. For instance,
Well,
like,
there's the, if you hold the charge beam and you go into a ball,
Okay. Oh, yeah,
you
splits out
release like a
five.
lot of.
and then there's other ones.
lot of bombs.
There's other ones too. I never actually did them. I think there's some really complicated ones.
Well,
Like-
this game is all about exploration and trying to find different hidden blocks, maybe blocks that disappear with the bombs, or when you use those bombs, it actually identifies if there's a special type of block that a different power would do, either your speed boots or a super missile. So that would actually be really good. I mean, you even get an X-ray beam in this game to be able to look around to see if there's any hidden
Oh, that's
things
right.
around.
That's right.
So the game is very much open world, go wherever you want to go, and massive exploration. There's even people that can do this game in about 55 minutes or so, being able to have it so optimized and running it. It's insane.
Yeah, and actually, I think you do get different endings depending on how quickly you beat it.
Oh, really?
I'm not able to beat it very quickly, but yeah, I get the basic ending.
So let's talk about the music. The music for Super Metroid was composed by Kenji Yamamoto. Yamamoto decided that the rich and expressive sounds, such as a female chorus, would be required to portray the setting realistically, which is what they were shooting for. They wanted realism, more of that, cinematic feel that the other games were
Yeah.
just kind of laying that foundation, because they were already really cool. And I know that a lot of the inspiration came from the Alien movie series, and they borrowed a little bit from that, but they kind of made it in a way better, because they went to a route where it was more science fiction, more industrial kind of futuristic feel versus just what those movies were just about the aliens terrorizing them. But this felt more of a Samus story going on a mission to eradicate them instead of just terrifying you. It was more just story driven.
Right, and it's also interesting that the Chozo that when she finds it on the planet, that they have, it's almost like she grew up with them because her power-ups are all from them, and it's all made for her suit. So, do you know the story, Ben, about the her growing up with the Chozo?
Kinda.
Am I even saying that right?
Yeah, you are, as far as I know.
The chorizo. Yeah,
Chorizo.
the chorizo. Chocobo chorizo. Yeah. Not super well. I mean, I played through all the Prime games, and I think that's where a lot of the lore comes from for them. I mean, I know in the original game, I don't even know if there really was anything about the Chozo, because I think in the manual it even said that she was an acrobat in the circus or something. I forget.
Oh, really?
And that's where the whole ball thing comes from.
Giving
back
her an
then.
excuse as to why.
But then that was also when they were, like, in the manual, I think they even said he was a guy. Like, she was a guy. So...
Yeah, we talked about that one of the episodes where we read that in the instruction manual, and then maybe they changed their mind while making the game and say, we'll make it a girl.
And I think I even remember fan art back in the day in EGM or Game Pro or whatever, like of someone who had clearly beaten the game and gotten, like, at least the helmet removed in the first game, from the very first game, the helmet removed and saw the long hair. But it was a guy.
That's
in a suit with long hair.
It's Fabio.
Yeah. Well, before or after he had that goose hit him in the face. I can't remember. Anyways, enough of that.
What other memories do you have? Kyle, you didn't really grow up with it, right? You said you played it later.
No, not this one. Not really. I do remember a little bit of trying out. I remember the first area somewhat. But then I never was able to really know where to go, what to do, and I got lost, and I just didn't have the attention span to do a full exploration of everything, and then trying to remember where things were, having to go back to use certain powers where, and I just got really lost, so I wasn't able to really focus too much when I was younger.
You're talking about in Super Metroid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't really appeal to, like, everybody. I can see that. I mean, just like any other, that's why we have so many genres of gaming. We have puzzles, we have action games, we have fighting games, so it just... You found it maybe appealing later as you got older.
Yeah, I was more of Sonic. Yeah, I go right and I jump a lot, and then I'm okay. I knew where I was going with Sonic.
I remember buying Super Metroid, and this was the early years of the Super Nintendo, and that of course feeling when I see the label or the cartridge itself is that nostalgic, dive in, because you remember everything that you were doing during this time. And I remember, being just a kid and being super excited for the Super Nintendo, and it was so new and so, cutting edge with graphics and, jumping right off of the original NES. And, for me, so is that feeling of like that new-ish feeling. And it kind of stayed with me ever since.
So fresh, so clean.
So fresh and so new.
So clean.
So going back to the music, there's been a lot of remixes and a lot of songs that were put in Smash Brothers, and there's been other albums where they've done either rock metal versions or symphony orchestrated versions, and just like revisiting its original music and its original form for me as I was playing it recently, I just thought, man, this really was ahead of its time as far as the kind of video game it was, and the high quality and high,
density.
It was really just like there was so much work put into this, and it's just so evident when you put it, when you put the cartridge in and you just fire it up, man, it's just a time capsule for the 90s.
Yeah, I think it was a $70 game, if I recall, when it first came out, $70 or $80.
Wow.
I think I remember getting it at Toys R Us, and I think I might have had some kind of gift card or something that, maybe like $20 or something. So I was all
that
stoked.
made it a normal price game.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those bigger cartridges, that's the thing with cartridges. They had the, all the chips and everything, and they'd always go $70, $80, $90 on some of them. It was frustrating for a kid.
So which one was your favorite track?
Yeah, I was about to say, my favorite definitely is, I I think it's called. Well, it's the stage when you go into Brinstar, and I think it's like the. I think it. That's the one. Yeah. And it had the bit of the chorus in the background. That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that whenever I hear that song, it's so mood setting. Like it's that's to me what felt so great about Super Metroid in particular, because it was so, each stage was so themed that it just captured your interest right away, because its mood, and each one was, I remember in Norfair, when you get into the fire area, even the music sounds haunting, and it's just, and you see the level, and it's all just pure fire and like lava, and it's amazing how they brought that to life.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one of mine, was Norfair. Just getting into that, I was playing through it again for the podcast, and going into that area is just like, it really dropped down low. The enemies that changed into it made you really feel like you were getting further into, like, closer to the core of the planet type of thing, and is getting ominous.
Yeah, ominous was the word I was thinking of, not haunting, but yeah, that definitely.
And kind of a march. Like,
it kind of reminded me of, I don't know why, whenever I think of it, it reminds me a little bit of the feeling you got in Temple of Doom, like with that music, the feel. It doesn't sound anything like it, but I think it just
going to die.
it kind of had that same, like you said, Kyle, ominous feeling with the music, and it was very just very brought to life in the video game. Do you have a favorite stage or song?
Well, you've named a couple of them already. Trying to think of what other ones. Trying to like mentally search the game in my head. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the one in Brinstar, I mean, that's always been one of my top, and the Norfair one. So right off the top of my head, those are the two.
I wonder if the reason for that is because it's like the first area that you go into, and it's the first experience you have with the music in the Brinstar, that it completely changes into something that you weren't expecting, and so it's one of those stages that sticks with you. I wonder if that's the reason why it's everybody's favorite, it seems like.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. Yeah, it's the most impressionable right away, because you get the beginning epic, and you're like, okay, video game, you sit. But when you get into that particular stage, the mood changes. And I think every stage is a mood changer for the game.
Its mood, right.
Yeah. I'll say that, again, the game was very well praised. It was... It received just pretty much just the best ratings you can find, mostly on the. These are some of the publications that released their reviews back in 1994. EGM gave it a 36 out of 40, GameSpot 8.5 out of 10, IGN 9.5 out of 10, Nintendo Life 10 out of 10, Nintendo Power 4.4 out of 5, Game Players 97%, Super Play 92%. So Super Metroid was met with mainly critical acclaim all across the board. I think the people that probably think it's crap would be the people that, they just don't favor that kind of video game.
Right.
It's you absolutely love it or you just hate it.
They like Farmville or something. I don't know.
Farmville. That's retro. I don't know anyone that still does Farmville.
I heard someone mention it recently. So.
Maybe,
seriously?
Maybe someone still does it. As far as then the ending, spoiler alerts,
things happen
and people die. No, I think the ending was great. It was really just that, again, that very cinematic feeling of the end. And I thought maybe it might be the last one. Once I beat it when I was younger, I thought, man, I hope they keep making these.
Oh yeah,
it just felt like it wasn't going to continue for some reason.
Yeah, and you get that when the Metroid, the big Metroid, latches on to the mother brain T-Rex thing,
right?
And then you're shooting, and then like he see what was it? Yeah, he's killing you, and then he sucks that out, and then gives you the energy, and then you have that, what's it, the hyper beam? I think it was called.
Yes.
Yeah, you had a special beam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, no, that's very vivid in my memory.
It's one of those things where you don't think Mother Brain is going to be coming back because you kind of take care of that in the first game. But then, and when Ridley's in there, he's taking the Metroid, you're like, okay, well, this is a giant dinosaur type creature. You're going to be able to, this is my main enemy here. So you beat him and you're like, all right, that's the game. Cool. And then Mother Brain comes back. You're like, wait, what? And having the friend of the baby Metroid that matured throughout the entire run that you're going through it to then help you out with it. There's no dialogue in the game really, but yet you get, except for in the beginning and the end when she's relating the stories to you, obviously, but to see those friendships or those interactions with the different creatures and stuff of the friends in the game, it's interesting how that dynamic works without any dialogue between the two. Just the actions of it. It's really unique.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
I bet you were waiting to say that this whole episode. We've quoted that so much. I had an article I was going to read that I found really interesting. It was about the development team that went into programming and making Super Metroid. There was a big crunch on Super Metroid to pump it out at a certain point of date, a deadline that they were getting to. Yamamoto said that it was really hard back then. We had a nap room with lots of futons lined up and staff members took turns sleeping. Sakamoto recalls that the team were often so dazed and absorbed they forgot about sleep and it became a distant memory. And I quote, he said, "Sometimes we didn't know when we had last slept." So they put a lot of work on this. Sakamoto also shared a little of a tidbit of a whimsy. On Christmas night, he says that we were, of course, working, and when Sakamoto and I ate a late meal, we saw people having a good time on the TV. And he said they were watching the news. We wondered why we couldn't do that too, because they said that Yamamoto got angry at the television and that he was angry at the people on the news who were taking ski trips at the end of the year, quote unquote. So they must have really been behind closed doors for a while.
Oh,
yeah, that sounds fairly standard, at least for back then. The Japanese development companies, they wanted you to finish the game.
Yeah,
yeah, they were very work for like 3 months straight with no sleep. Drink nothing but coffee and just
the nap pods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine working on a game like that where you're just so absorbed you forget what time of day, when you slept last, and that's the kind of thing that you could say at the end of the day, my blood and sweat is in that game. Like I've put all my energy in that, and that's why it's become with one of the greatest games of all time. We see a lot of effort into it.
Right.
So after this, we went to Metroid Fusion. Was that the next one? I think it might have been.
You mean that actually released?
Right. I think that was Metroid 4.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
It is. I think it is
canon-wise.
I think canon-wise is still technically the furthest, like the last game in the series.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember starting up the Game Boy Advance version. It does say Metroid 4 on there right before the little cinematic sequence of Samus like going on a ship somewhere.
Right. That's right.
So, being the case that it borrowed a lot of elements and made it much more improved in Metroid Fusion. After that, I think it was just Metroid Zero Mission.
Yeah,
and
Zero Mission.
That's the last one of 2D, really, except the remake of the remake of Metroid 2 was still side-scrolling, but in a 3D form, so 2.5, right?
Yeah, and then also the one on the Wii.
Other M.
That
Metroid
people
Other
hate.
M.
I enjoyed it. I had some frustration with that game. There are certain moments like having to use, I think, the Wiimote, whatever, and just like, there was definitely things that were hard to deal with. But and also the story. Like I didn't mind all the story in it, but that's just me.
Yeah, I like story in games. I mean, it depends on my mood.
They say, she's weak. They made her weak or something. I think is the main complaint in that game.
It's called Other M, right?
Yes.
Metroid Other M. Yeah, I hear not so good things about it, but the little that I played, I liked it. I just never dove into it again. But I think they're all good games, no matter what. I think they still have a great story arc between all of them, and I'm very surprised that they haven't at least attempted to make a movie out of it.
Yeah,
they may still, with current movies that are being made in video game fashion, then maybe they'll make it.
I think there's been rumors, but I haven't heard anything lately.
That'd be a giant movie to have to do, though.
I would
with
think
all the
it'd have
different
to
aliens
be...
and the CGI to have her be able to do all the things that they would do, and putting Ridley in there and all. Oh man, that'd be insane.
And you'd have to again go expansive because you'd be covering some levels, I would imagine, that are from the game with those themes and settings. But who knows if they could cover all of them, because there's so many rooms.
That would be insane.
Yeah, that would
It
be.
looks so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. And I think that Hollywood, we've discussed this many times, but I think Hollywood would be dumb to pass up something like that because while it may not make sense money-wise, I think a lot is to be said of what now has become the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, and DC a little bit too. But, I think a lot of that they didn't really count on initially when making the first couple movies, and then as we saw,
Right.
hey, it's bringing in a lot more money than you imagined. So I think the fan base for this is just not as well known because a lot of us gamers are happy with their games. We play them, we talk about it within a community of gamers, and that's where it goes. We don't really take it elsewhere. We don't, unless we go to places like Comic-Con or E3, then you start relating to people in that community, and I think it's a very strong community. I think we could, we can make it happen, people. We can make it happen.
Are you suggesting a Nintendo cinematic universe?
Yeah, I am.
Where Mario and Samus and Link all exist in the same universe?
They actually are.
Imagine this. We have a Super Mario movie coming out. That's what they said. They rumored it as, or not.
Is Lou Albino coming back?
No, not Lou Albino. It's CG. So that's what they've said. I think that it is official, but it's not for like 3 more years or something like that. But imagine they do the movie, and at the end of the movie, right after the credits, somewhere post-credit scene, Mario walks in. He goes into his room after a long day of doing whatever he's doing. Killing on the
Goombas.
couch, watching his TV, Sonic the Hedgehog laying out and saying, "Sup."
That's Sega
Boom.
Cinematic Universe.
I know, but what I'm getting at is Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of build up to Avengers. Hey, what's to say they won't build it up to Smash Brothers? Huh.
And then we'll have Smash Brothers, and then we'll have Jim Carrey in the Nintendo Cinematic Universe and Sega Universe. And
I just think that there's a lot of potential for it, and I'll leave it at that. And hopefully Hollywood listens to us.
Yeah, we've covered that in a previous live show of all the different movies and stuff going on, our ideas for it. I mean, come on, Mario Kart as a movie. That'd be great.
That would be great. Guess what time it is?
Tool time.
It's time to review the game.
Oh, telling me more, Daddy.
Here at Retro Game Night, we have come up with the best way to rate a game in terms of replay value and overall interest of the game. We have first showcase it, which means you love it and you adore it, and you want to show everyone what it's about. One and done, which means you liked the time you had with it, but I don't think I'm going to go for it again. Or flush it equals toilet paper. So
I'm going to have to flush and hush it. It was crud. And no.
Is that your official answer?
No, it is. It's a showcase game. To this day, it's one of my favorite games. Certain games stand out more than others. Even when there's there's good games and there's great games. This is one of those games throughout my childhood and adulthood that it just really stands out. It's just really refined, really well done. A lot of memories. Great music, great graphics, great gameplay. What else can I say?
Yeah, there's not much else you can say.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to have to agree with that and be a showcase. There's so much there. I remember, even though I didn't really play it all that much when I was a little kid, I remember always going back to it, always going for it again. I even remember in high school, one of my teachers allowed me to put an SNES emulator on there, and I actually was playing the game in my classroom, and just having fun with it still. And people kept trying to screw with me and delete my save file, but I always kept a backup of it because I didn't want to. But so yeah, it's definitely a showcase for sure. It's one of those ones that's an iconic game that actually makes gaming history. Keeping a form of the different powers going through time and how things developed and how it made such a impact on the different consoles that it was on, that even through GameCube and the Wii, and it's on the Virtual Console, even on the new 3DS, it's still out there for people to get in different forms. It's just one of those ones that you always need to get. I always feel like I need to buy it in a different version just to be able to constantly have it with me. I'm disappointed that it's not on the Switch yet, but yet I can still put it on my 3DS and all that. So it's one of those ones where I always want to be able to get it and be able to play it again, even though I didn't have it before. I'm addicted to it now.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with it. I'm going to say showcase it. And I think that that in itself, what you said is you took a lot of what I was going to say, which is great because that's good because it's a unanimous decision. I think that game has a lot of replay value. I would like to buy different versions of it and have it either portable or not portable, but I just want every version I can get a hold of. It's one that I would brag about when I finish it. Guess what I just finished, because it took me this long versus how long it took before. I would recommend this to all my friends, anyone that hasn't played it. I would literally, fall forward and backwards trying to get this game to them because you have to play it. It's amazing. It will change your life just a little bit.
You got to try it at least once.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said with the music. There's a lot to be said with the type of graphics. Even today, how it looks, it still doesn't look dated. It looks fantastic. I mean, we see retro style-ish games being made today that look in the same exact fashion as Super Metroid. So I think that the story was solid. The gameplay, you name it. Like Ben said, what more can I say? So if you don't have it, play it. And you're listening to the podcast, trust us, you will not be disappointed.
If you don't have one of those mini SNES classics, go get one and play it on there.
Yeah, if you want the original cartridge, I want to say it's almost close to the price of what you could get the SNES Classic for. So you might as well get, the high definition version in the sense that you could plug it in HDMI and, you'll have not just the save in the game, but also save states. So I would recommend that.
Makes it a lot easier to have to do a save state than having to keep going back to a save room.
Yes, absolutely. Before we wrap it up, I want to let everyone know our next date for our live show. Come check us out. It will be August 19th, and we will be at Five Threads Brewery in Westlake Village, California. You should be able to find it. I don't have the address with me now, but if you do a quick Google search, you'll find it. We will be talking this time about Game Boy. Did you guys know it's the 30th anniversary of Game Boy?
What?
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to be talking all things Game Boy as far as the console, the games, what we thought of the console or handheld console,
It's console
back in the day. So
It's very consoling.
Come check us out. Check out some of the brews and talk some Game Boy with us.
And that's going to be going about the original all the way to the newer stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be covering pretty much all Game Boy, so I want to be able to talk about and share memories, and then we can open up to the audience and get some memories to kind of just talk about it, and we'll hand out coupons.
Does that include the Virtual Boy?
Maybe we won't talk about that one too much.
We don't talk about that.
Why not? Give it a shot.
We'll talk about it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opinions.
All I know is I am seeing red just thinking about it.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us, guys. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on Instagram at retro_game-night, our website, which is www.retrogamenighttpodcast.com, where you can find all of our info about our upcoming shows and more about the podcast and different formats you can find it in. Until next time, everybody, rinse and repeat.
I gotta pee.
Good night, everybody.
Not in this game, not in this game, in a previous game, in a previous game, in a previous game, in a previous game, the first game, not the third game.